But yeah, good morning, good afternoon, guys, depending on where you're coming in from. So I know I saw a lot of you guys last week on the kind of office hours we did for Greencard. I know this week we're going to kind of make it a little bit more formal in terms of what we are covering. So just to kind of give you a good lay of the land of how I wanted to go through things here is obviously talk about the product, talk about Greencard. You guys probably know enough about Greencard at this point, but still run you through a demo. And then I kind of want to touch on some of the compliance issues in the industry, kind of giving you guys a background on what's going on in terms of compliance. Um, and then touching on, cashless ATMs in the news, where we've seen some compliance issues, case studies, and then some agent materials. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen here.
And in light of everything, I want to wish everyone a happy 420. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Behave on Sunday and happy Easter to all of you.
It's funny how 420 and Easter are coinciding this year. I guess they always coincide, mostly for the most part. Um, But yeah, so let me go ahead and pull up my screen. You guys should see everything here. I am actually going to minimize my screen a little bit so you don't see everything yet. Let me go ahead and just pull up the presentation. So a lot of you guys have seen this presentation before. I'm going to go through it quickly, just kind of touching on really the key points here, just kind of taking a step back too. So Green Card, was developed around 2 years ago for the cannabis industry. Founder was Luke. He can't make it on this call, but he is a dev guy. His team is a pure dev house. And he developed this product because he was a cannabis user himself. So coming from payments, getting into software, he recognized that when it came to cannabis, there really wasn't a easy way to pay. Cash has really always been king in the industry. Cash has always been the compliant way to pay since 2014 in Colorado. But now, I'm sure you guys are familiar if you're cannabis users, debit's the way to go. So when I walk into a dispensary, I hand in my debit card, I put in my PIN number, and from there, I don't know where the money goes. Being in payments, I know that, it's a non-compliant transaction. I know that my money probably goes to a few different intermediary parties, but it takes a while for the money to get to the dispensary, and it's not streamlined. And we saw, okay, there's all these other tech in the industry, whether it be Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, that are able to transfer money pretty quickly and compliantly. And how can we take those kind of seamless modern checkout flows and apply them to cannabis in a space that's highly regulated and highly controlled by the feds? So what we did is we came up with Greencard, and I'll kind of touch it on from a higher level here. So we'll go in through some of the payment challenges, introducing Greencard, talk about core verticals, talk about our kind of CRM and ancillary functions, as well as we'll dive into a demo towards the end. But going through the presentation pretty quickly, right? In 2014, when cannabis went into Colorado, the only compliant method to pay for cannabis was through cash, and that still remains to this day. Cash is king when it comes to cannabis, but as you guys I'm aware, coming from other payments industries, there's a reason why we're shying away from cash when it comes to restaurants and retail. And that's because cash costs money. So what we're seeing in cannabis is anywhere between 5 to 14% of the total cash on hand gets used for security purposes, paying your security guards, armored transportations, on-premise safes. It really starts to add up over time. And then with cannabis being a high risk industry, we do see higher incidences of theft, whether it be internal theft, external theft, your delivery drivers getting targeted. I know, Dan, we were talking about the other day in Jersey, right? You have these delivery drivers that are carrying around tens of thousands of dollars in cash, and they become these big targets. And then, more recently in the past 5 to 6 years, and again, those are the issues with cash, we've seen the influx of these newer debit solutions. So really come 2017, 2018, we saw the influx of PIN debit terminals that switched over to point of banking, and now we're kind of in the era of cashless ATMs. So these debit solutions have really been great in some ways for the cannabis industry, in that for the first time ever, customers can finally use plastic at the register, right? I can finally put a card in, I can enter my PIN number, and I can leave the dispensary without having to pull out cash. The only issue with these terminals is that they're baseline non-compliant, right? Because they're still using the debit rails. These are federally insured rails, same with the credit rails. Because cannabis is still a scheduled substance, it's federally illegal to be running these debit transactions on these rails. That being said, how they're masking these transactions is by misappropriating the MCC codes. So we see high incidences of MCC code 5912 being used, and that's for independent pharmacies. We also see the MCC code of, I think it's 6011 getting used, and that's for the legitimate ATM network. So a lot of these, debit terminals are coded as cashless ATMs. And then what we see is it usually takes around 2 to 3 months for these transactions to build up over time. Visa, MasterCard begin to detect some discrepancies in the transaction history, or just like the TrueLeave shutdown that happened in March, they send in a secret shopper and they shut down your entire cashless ATM flow. So this is still a non-compliant solution. Again, most dispensaries are using this right now, which gives you as agents a big opportunity to come in and say, okay, great. You guys clearly have a non-compliant solution on your storefront. Let's go ahead and hedge with Greencard. Let's go ahead and put in a compliant option we know is just as easy, but won't get you shut down. That being said, we saw some kind of missed opportunities on the delivery and e-commerce side, as well as the CRM side of things. So when it comes to delivery, really the industry standard right now is cash on delivery and pay at pickup. Now, the issue with cash on delivery is, as a dispensary, I'm expecting that the customer is going to have X amount of dollars on hand at the time of delivery. We find that that's a pretty speculative model in that, how can I guarantee that, and cannabis is a legal drug, but someone that's trying to buy drugs is going to have, $200 in cash at the time of purchase. What we see is a lot of missed deliveries. The customers have to leave their homes and go grab cash from the ATM and come back. It really just creates multiple points of friction for the delivery. So what we wanted to do is really capture that payment at checkout first, and then have these dispensaries dispatch the driver full well knowing that they already have the cash. Kind of touching on this, and I talked about this yesterday with Dan, but there are states like New York, and I think Jersey's kind of on the way, that are phasing out cash on delivery entirely. So you're gonna have to prepay for these orders. So, better to get ahead of it now with a solution that can do prepayment like Greencard. Now I'm in kind of a unique situation here in California with pay at pickup. I live in a very busy city. I'm sure a lot of you guys do or live near one. So what happens is a lot of people place orders at noon during their lunchtime to pick up at the end of the day. What we see is around, a quarter of pickups never actually being picked up in store and paid for, because people just don't want to go pick up their orders in 2 hours of traffic. So again, what we want to do with Greencard is secure that purchase at checkout. They can come in store and just grab that order and leave. On the back end, I was talking with an agent this morning, and we were really talking about cash dispensaries, right? There's really a big influx of cash dispensaries now. There's a lot of states legalizing. There's a lot of people getting these new licenses. They've seen the problems with cashless ATM and debit solutions, so they just say, hey, you know what? I want to stick with cash. The only issue with cash is it doesn't really work for you, right? It's very hard to track purchases with cash. It's very hard to track customers with cash. So what we wanted to do at Greencard was say, okay, let's bring you the compliance with cash with the kind of back end of some of these other newer modern payment systems. So with Greencard, we give you customer information on the back of every transaction, whether it be in store, online, e-commerce, invoicing. We're giving you customer name, we're giving you customer email, and we're giving you phone number. And then in our back end, which I'll show you on the demo, we give the ability to outreach and to set loyalty parameters all within Greencard. So from a high level, right, today people expect fast, seamless tap to pay payments. Restaurant retail has pretty much led the charge in quick, reliable payments. That being said, because cannabis is a federally, just a legal area, there are very limited solutions when it comes to compliant, quick, and seamless transactions. That being said, we saw that there was this gap. We recognize that there is a compliant solution in the industry, that being bank-to-bank ACH payments. And we said, great, how can we take these rails of, simple ACH payments and kind of apply them to the cannabis industry in a way where people can check out in 10 seconds. So what we've created is, to boil it down, is a lot like Venmo for cannabis. People pay directly from their bank account in around 10 seconds for multiple revenue streams in a dispensary. Getting to the next slide, from a really high level, we are both a standalone and an integrated payment solution. So if you have clients working with Trees, if you have clients working with Dutchie, Meadow POS, Blaze, we're able to come in on the back end as an unintegrated payment solution, very similar to that PIN debit solution, that cashless ATM, and just cash to begin with. On the flip side of things, we do have integrated partners. So we work with a partner based out in Florida called Acadia POS. They have a fully metric integrated point of sale, and we directly integrate with them. So at the point of purchase, once you've scanned a customer in through the Acadia point of sale, you can push that QR code from Greencard directly to the customer facing screen. And that's how we integrate there. If you guys do have point of sale partners in the industry, we're always happy to work with them. We're open to kind of opening up our partnership book there. But kind of getting back into Greencard, right, from a high level, it is strict bank-to-bank payments, right? We don't touch the credit rails. We don't touch the debit rails. This is all ACH-based transactions. Customer completes these transactions from their phone, from their web, in around 10 to 15 seconds. We are a non-cash alternative. We're not trying to push out cash. We understand that a lot of merchants feel safe with cash. They feel comfortable with cash because it is compliant. But we want to come in side by side and offer a more modern, a more seamless checkout experience. That being said, we're not also making these dispensaries push out cashless ATMs. We work with clients where they have cash, cashless ATMs, and Greencard. We want to be a solution in the portfolio of products that you provide. And if something goes down, you'll always have Greencard on the back end to back you up. We do have an added layer of baseline compliance and security. So unlike that PIN debit and cashless ATM, we adhere to both federal and state regulations, and I'll kind of key you guys into that in a little bit. But we ensure long-term processing for the extent of our relation with a dispensary. And then right on the back end, we do give you those valuable customer insights. So every transaction, you get name, email, phone number, and the ability to market and set loyalty. If you're connected with one of our point of sale partners, you can track purchase history and buying intent. So Greencard, right? We use the ACH rails. It's next day payments. It's bank to bank. It's nothing new. What we do is we take this checkout flow and we customize it to each revenue stream within a cannabis dispensary or cannabis related business. So in store, we have a dedicated checkout where a customer scans a QR code. That ticket loads automatically on their phone, whether you're in the Greencard app or you've just scanned it from your camera. We can load this in Safari, in Chrome, in any web app. We also have an e-commerce flow that integrates directly onto your website via API. So this is your branding, your SEO, your hosting. We populate on the back end as a payments widget, and that's pretty much it. We can work with a WooCommerce site, Shopify site, Wix site, Foursquare. Our ability to work with most custom website builders is there as well. We handle most of that lift on our dev team. So if you have a client that's like, hey, we work with Shopify, but that's really all we know, we can help them set it up there. That being said, we do have invoicing and pay links. So on the invoicing side, that's mostly B2B. So we do work with cultivators, we work with growers, and I'll just kind of anecdotally talk about this for a second, but I was at Champs in March, and a lot of these B2B THCA growers, THC growers, high-risk cannabis growers, they're just using cash and checks for bill pay. Some of them are using Stripe at 3.5%. But we came in and we offered Greencard at a much lower rate, up to $1 million per transactions. And we've seen a few of them kind of move over to the platform. So we can support up to $1 million per transaction. We cap it out around $50. We're trying to be more of a value add. We don't want to, gouge these cannabis growers for their bill pay. That being said, we kind of transition this on the B2C side and call it pay links. So if you're a dispensary and you're doing delivery, and a customer calls into your store and says, hey, Vinny, can I get a pack of pre-rolls and some gummies? What I can do is say, great, Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and send you a pay link to your phone number. Go ahead and click that and check out with Greencard. Now we can do that both SMS and email. That's directly within the Greencard backend. For states where it's legal, California and Colorado, we do have vending options that are housed within the licensed dispensary location. So we work with a company called Digital Media Vending Incorporated, and they provide us with age-verified vending machines. This is an older model, but right now it's a 12 by 8-inch touchscreen. You can tap on screen which items you'd like to pay. You check out with Greencard, scan that QR code, your items would dispense, and you can leave the store. This is great for high traffic dispensaries, for those everyday customers that don't want to have to go walk up to the counter and just want to, grab a pre-roll and leave. So with Greencard, we do collect a lot of, extra data on the side, not just payments info. So what we wanted to do is really give this data to the dispensary to allow them to grow their community. What we realized when it comes to cannabis is there's really not much differentiating one dispensary down the street from the other than the fact that one looks like an Apple store and one doesn't. It's the same product, it's the same stock, it's pretty much the same bud tender. So what we wanted to do with Greencard is give our merchants actionable data that they can use to kind of develop a community, a brand, and loyalty behind their dispensary. So with every purchase, again, we give them customer data, email, phone, lead source, We do have integrated loyalty. This is getting pushed come early summer, so it's not fully there yet. But again, we're trying to limit those friction points. So when someone opts in with Greencard, they've automatically opted into loyalty. They don't have to re-enter a phone number. They don't have to enter an email. It's already tracking. Same thing with outreach, right? Once they've opted in once they've given you their information, they don't have to opt in again, and you own that customer. So this is really Greencard from a high level. Go ahead and ask me some questions. We can pick apart this while I pull up the demo.
I have one that I ran into this morning that I was going to wait to ask you now.
Yeah.
I went to a dispensary. I was talking to them. They were telling me about their processor, and he mentioned that him and the processor are in some kind of profit sharing agreement. Maybe you could at some point elaborate on that. I mean, I'm guessing he essentially is getting a piece of the processor's action.
Yeah.
And
so
how normal that practice is.
Yeah, so we see that a lot coming from the cashless ATM side of things. So we work with a few guys who are big on cashless ATM, and they've wanted to come over to Greencard, and that's kind of part of their business model, right? They give it to them at, let's say, $3, and then the merchant charges $4 to the end user, and they make $1 per ticket, right? We can do the same thing here with Greencard. So I'll go ahead and pull up, or the demo's already here. I'm going to kind of skip ahead here, guys, but Dan, you get the gist of it. We're going to go into the settings tab within Greencard. So when we built Greencard, we wanted to kind of fall in line with that cashless ATM, right? We wanted to give the merchants the ability to pass that fee on to the customer to essentially make it a zero cost transaction. That being said, customers can do that, or merchants can do that rather directly within the settings tab. So if they're getting charged $3 per transaction from the merchant service provider, they can customize it to $4 and save it, and then they're going to generate $1 per transaction on the back end. So we still have those rev share capabilities, Dan, built within the system. So if you want to, hop on a call later with me, we can kind of discuss that there with that merchant.
Okay.
But kind of starting from the top, what we have here on the left-hand side, this is the merchant dashboard. This is everything a merchant needs to handle transactions for their dispensary. So in-store, online, vending, delivery, pay links, invoicing, all within the Greencard dashboard. We really simplify it into one web-based dash. So if you're, on vacation, if you're in store, if you're waking up, you as the owner can really log in wherever to view the health of your dispensary. That being said, when it comes to loading this in a dispensary, because it is web-based, it's very little overhead in terms of hardware. So if they have spare kiosks laying around that are web connected, if they have tablets, if they have iPads, we can load Greencard onto really any device. We have delivery drivers that put Greencard on their phone so they can scan the QR code at point of checkout. There's a lot of customizability into how you use it. But again, this is all web-based. On the right-hand side, this is our customer app. This is our application that looks a lot like Venmo, Cannabis. In the top, you have all your connected bank accounts. As you scroll down, you have all of your accounts where you've paid in the past using Greencard. If you guys see at the bottom, we have that little 4-icon tab. We'll go one over. This is going to be your marketplace of all dispensaries in your area using Greencard. You can search by name. Here's going to be your ledger of all your payments with Greencard, open and closed. And then on the right-hand side, all the way over is going to be your connected bank accounts. So as you'll see, we have checking, savings, mortgage, investment, loan. The very bottom, we do have credit cards. So we don't, like I said, work with cards right now. That being said, when regulations get repealed and cannabis goes legal, we are all set to go with card processing. This app is downloadable from the iOS and Android store. That being said, we don't require our users to download the app. So we both have an app-based checkout and a web-based checkout. So if a customer just wants to scan a QR code with their iPhone camera, they can do that and we'll take you directly to Safari. You don't need to download the app. Moving over to the left-hand side, again, this is the web-based merchant dashboard. From the top, this really has everything an owner needs to view the processing health of their dispensary. So total transactions for that month, total amount transacted in revenue. They can download their agreement right here if they'd like. We have processing information over on the right-hand side. This service fee is set at 2%. This is null. This is a demo account. And then all these figures below will have their payouts, their charge limits. Just as a note right here, we have since switched over to a flat rate model. Most of our merchants get priced at around $3.50 to come in line with a national average on ATM and cashless ATM pricing. we've really seen that to kind of standardize around $3.50. As we scroll down here, we have all of our active API keys. Again, we have web checkouts, we have e-commerce checkouts, we have pay links. You're going to generate an API key, and we're going to put that into all of your checkouts to bring Greencard in there. We do have a WooCommerce plugin guide. When it comes to plugging that in, you'll let our dev team handle that. We have a whole dev team helping us out here at Greencard, and we'll help your merchants with that as well. Now, if you're an owner, manager, partner, this gives you a good snapshot of all your incoming transactions to make sure that people are processing at your dispensary. When we first built Greencard, we were talking with the owner, and he pretty much said, okay, great, this is all good information, but I don't want my bud tender who I just hired a month ago to be able to see how much I'm making. So within Greencard, what we do is we have complete custom user accounts for everyone on your team. Bud tenders, managers, security guards, they're each going to have their own account within Greencard, and then you as the owner can set those permissions accordingly. So if you want them to see everything, processing health, revenue, you can select all those permissions here, or you can toggle them one by one below. And then once you click these functions, these tabs will correspond on the left-hand side of their views. So if you just give your bud tender the merchant ring up function, that will only show on the left-hand side. Getting into ring up, this is really the bread and butter of our in-store checkout flow. So when a customer enters your store, what's going to happen is they'll get rung up on your point of sale. They'll probably buy a few items, let's just say pre-roll and a pack of gummies. From there, depending on the point of sale that you're using, it's either going to be fully integrated and push over to create a QR code, or you'll press a custom tender button. So on trees, we have the custom tender option to create a Greencard custom tender button. That bud tender will bring that transaction over to Greencard. They'll type in that amount. A QR code will get pushed for that transaction. Now, as the customer, I'm either going to use my iPhone camera, or I'm going to go within the app, navigating to the second tab from the bottom. I'm going to go into the top right corner and click this little QR code scan button. Once I've done that, I'm going to position this directly on screen. And we're having a little bit of trouble here. Sorry, guys, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to just let Dev know that. Then we can touch this on. We can touch back on this in the end. But with this ring up function, right, we're checking out via QR code. And what's happening is we're saving this transaction inside the transactions tab. So anytime someone pays, we're logging it directly within the transactions tab. And then we're also giving these merchants the ability to generate reports, right? So we have monthly, daily, weekly custom reporting for all transactions within Greencard. And then if you're using QuickBooks, if you're using another kind of accounting software, you can export this as a CSV just to upload it in there and keep all your accounting regimented. Also within the reporting tab, you can track your tips for each bud tender. So because I'm the owner of this account, it's not going to show it right here, but within RingUp, we'll have the name of the bud tender. You can click on his or her name, show the amount of tips that they've accrued for this reporting period, as well as the amount of sales they've generated. So this really allows you to, track history for your bud tenders, allow to pay them out accordingly, and then really track their performance in store. Again, anytime someone pays with Greencard, we're tracking this customer within the CRM. So as you can see, I'm really the only customer at this store, but each time I log in a different demo account, we're saving phone number, we're saving email. If I left my sunglasses, if I left my wallet, I can send a one-off to that customer and just remind them, hey, you left something in store. That being said, I can take all this customer information and go to the outreach tab right here in the bottom. So like I was saying, we do have email outreach. We have full template management. Again, same thing with SMS. If you have customers you'd like to group accordingly, whether they be VIP spenders, specific bud tenders clients, consistent VIPs, you can do that all within Greencard and then market to them accordingly. And then we also have scheduled outreach. So 420 is coming up. I know it's a weekend. So let's say you have your marketing guy in office only Thursday. He can go ahead and draft up that email, get it ready to send out for Sunday, and you're all good to go. Touching on the settings really quickly before we get back into Greencard, it's going to be pretty boilerplate, changing your password, changing your phone, login history, activating 2FA, OTP preferences, and then company info. So right here within the company info tab, this is going to be all your user-facing credentials. So all your logos, your name, DBA, where you're located. And then right down here at the bottom is going to be this ACH descriptor. So unlike a cashless ATM transaction or a debit transaction where they're actually hiding the purpose of the transaction, our banking partners require us to have a custom ACH descriptor for each dispensary that uses Greencard. So everything's above board with Greencard. I, as a customer, if I go pay $40 at Green Oasis, I can go to my bank account and see that, $40 are debited at Green Oasis dispensary. It doesn't show, XYZ merchant services, a random phone number. We keep everything transparent so you can track the history of the transaction. Getting back into Greencard, again, we have vending. This is for the states of California and Colorado. So once you get a vending machine from one of our vending partners, we'll enter the vending ID from DMVI, we'll name the machine, and then tell it the address of the license location. Once we've enabled that, we can go ahead and add it. Once we've added it, we'll be able to track all transactions for vending within Greencard, and then you'll have your own inventory and pricing management software from DMVI. As we get down, we'll kind of touch on the invoicing and pay links factors. So again, this can be used in both a B2B and B2C fashion. In this case, we'll just kind of explore it from a B2C route. So to create an invoice is pretty simple, or pay link. All you need is the name of the customer if they're already in your CRM, or you can enter their email or phone number if they're not. In this case, I'm already a customer, so I'm just going to go ahead with my email. Once I've done so, we'll get a merchant invoice. We can put Jackson. We can upload an invoice from our invoicing software if we're using Apex, if we're using QuickBooks, and upload it within Greencard so your payee can see a complete ledger, or you can just continue with a description invoice. So in this case, I'll do pre-rolls. We'll do 5 units at $15. And once I click create, this will get sent automatically out to that customer. Switching roles here, I'm going to get into my email. And we'll see that I have an open invoice from Greencard. Now, depending on your dispensary, we're going to fully co-brand this to them with their logos, their coloring, their images, their wording. But as you see down below, we have that $75 order with that $4 service fee that we just changed a second ago for a total of $79. Now, as the customer, I have the option to pay or reject the invoice. Once I pay, within the same window, it opens up the Greencard checkout. So we'll say, hey, Jackson, want time to log in? I'll use my Greencard email. If you don't have a Greencard account, you can check out as a guest. What we do here is we bring you through the MX flow where you log in with your bank information or your mobile banking information, your username and password. You connect that banking account and then you're good to go. In this case, because I am a customer, I'm going to log in. It's going to ask for a one-time password. This is sent to either your phone number or your email. Once I grab that, I'll have full access to my banking account. So I can choose my checking, my savings, my mortgage. Once I choose my account, we'll transfer this money. We'll do that real-time balance check on the back end to make sure the customer has funds. Once we've done so, we can click thank you and go back to Greencard. So once we're in Greencard, we can check out this invoice just a second ago that was open. We'll go ahead and refresh the page and see it's all closed up. We can get that order ready in store and give it to the customer when he or she comes in. So that's how invoicing pay links work within Greencard. It's pretty quick. We do also give each customer their own Greencard web-based dashboard. So if you're a dispensary and you're paying cultivators, this gives you the ability to kind of have visibility into where your money's going over time. So I can see, over the past month, I've spent $250,000 at one cultivator, buying a ton of flower, buying a ton of product. That being said, I can look at my transaction history over the course of time, seeing that I've spent, X amount of money in total with these different suppliers. And then I can look at all my open invoices. So if I have open invoices, closed invoices, past due invoices, I can see everything here in one consolidated dashboard. We've seen a lot of our clients like this just to see all their open and closed invoices. Getting back over into Greencard, again, all these transactions are getting tracked within the transactions tab, and then you can export them via reports. But again, getting into loyalty, right? This is getting built out come beginning of summer. So we'll be able to track all parameters like points earned per dollar spent, points required for $1 of loyalty. And then if you want to set an expiration date for these points, you will below. And then a ledger for all these customers and their accrued loyalty will show up right down here. I know I touched on in the beginning, we do have API keys. We do have an e-commerce flow. We work with a bunch of different website builders, as I was saying, WooCommerce, Shopify, e-commerce, or Wix, Foursquare. Right now, let me show you the WooCommerce checkout. So as I was saying with Greencard and kind of how we differ from Dutchie and these other website services is that we want our businesses to control their SEO. We want them to control their branding. When you partner with Dutchie, Dutchie really takes your store and they put it under their own umbrella. So there's really no way for you to develop your own kind of Google presence. So with Greencard, what we do is a little bit different, right? We just supply our API on the back end, and you host your website and you control everything about it. So here, this is a very bare bones site, just with gummies, but I'll show you what the flow looks like. As a customer, I'm going to go through your shop. I'm going to pick out a few items. Once I go to checkout, this is going to look pretty traditional in terms of retail setting. I'll go to checkout. Because I've shopped here before, these fields are all pre-populated. We'll have an order summary below, gummies, quantity times 2. And then here's where the Greencard API populates. So like I was saying, we're not pushing out other options. We want to come in line with other options. So you can still do a direct bank transfer. You can still do cash on delivery. But if you just want to simplify everything, let's pay with Greencard. Once you click pay with Greencard, within the same window, you'll be brought through that same exact flow. Now, this case, let me show you guys what it looks like to sign up as a first-time customer. So I'm going to put in a new email, log in, and it's going to say, hey, Jackson, we didn't recognize you. Let's go ahead and sign up. So now I'm going to enter a new phone number. I'm going to enter a new password for my account, and I'm going to register. Once I've registered, it's going to send me an OTP to verify that I am a new customer. So I'm going to wait for that OTP. Once I've gotten it, I'll go ahead and enter it below. And now it's time to sign up. So it's going to pull in all this information over from WooCommerce. We're going to need the last 4 of my social to do a real-time age verification. We'll manually attest that I am at least 21 years old. Once we've submitted that, it's going to ask us to connect our bank accounts. Now from here, we work with MX, which banks with other 13,000 institutions. We have better OAuth connections than Plaid. So in this case, I can type in Bank of America, Wells Fargo. I bank with MX. I'll click MX. I'll type in my username and my password, and that's it. So once I've typed in my banking credentials, it's going to go look for my bank accounts. It's going to come back to me and say, hey, Jackson, we have a checking and savings. I'll connect my savings. From there, we're done. Once you've connected your bank account once with Greencard, you'll never have to do it again. And it's one-click checkout from there on out. So I'll transfer these $24. We'll do that real-time balance check again in the back end. We'll click thank you. And we'll be brought back to WooCommerce for our order summary. Now I can go in store and say, hey, I'm Jackson TR, order number 306. Can I have my order? So again, we like to keep things as simple as possible. This allows you to pretty much prepay for your orders. You know you're getting paid. You can send out your driver. We just want to make sure that dispensaries can secure payment without any kind of speculative operations. So again, we're tracking this all within Greencard within the transactions tab. And again, tracking all customers coming in through WooCommerce. So we'll see that Jackson plus webinar is a new lead. So I'm going to kind of stop sharing here and see if there's any questions you guys want to ask. We'll get the in-store checkout ready to go so I can cover that. But in the meantime, I kind of wanted to discuss compliance, what makes Greencard compliant, what makes ACH compliant, and I'll share those documents with you guys. But in the meantime, do we have any questions?
Hey Jackson, so it's Javier. So I'm curious to know, I'm just starting to get involved with this vertical. And I have one dispensary that's just ATM only.
Okay.
Learning through this thing, it's like, hey, it's they probably just do the charge and get a kickback in there. And so what are the other hurdles that you guys have encountered within, seems like a very simple operation. These guys have 3 locations, operate all the same.
Yeah.
And what's your suggestion to be able to, what information do I need to go in and get?
Yeah, 100%. So when we work with a cash only dispensary, it's pretty straightforward because they kind of fall in 1 or 2 buckets, right? They know the issue with cashless ATM, they don't want to touch it, or they've touched it in the past, they've gotten shut down, and now they're back to cash only. What my sell is when I go in is, and I can kind of help you out this, Javier, is letting them know that with Greencard, there's no risk, there's no compliance issues here. And I can kind of touch on the compliance part of it. But by bringing Greencard into your dispensary beside cash, you're not introducing a new level of risk. You're actually introducing a more seamless way to pay. So we're not phasing out cash. We're not pushing out your cash business. We want people to still pay with cash. But for those customers that are more, in that 18 to 50 range, that are more used to those embedded payments, this will allow them to check out in 10 seconds. It'll also allow the dispensary to save the customer information. So if they're cash only, they're probably having a really hard time right now generating kind of loyalty or branding behind their dispo. So with Greencard, it allows them, yes, they were using cash before, but now every time someone that was using cash in the past uses Greencard, we can track their name, we have their email, and we can let them know and start to develop a relationship with that customer. So, that's kind of the main thing with cash. It's hard to track. It's hard to make cash work for you as a dispensary and really develop those relationships. So we can offer them that same level of compliance with Greencard, but also giving them those extra kind of facets, whether it be outreach, marketing, all that good stuff.
Cool, thank you. And then just a follow-up there,
Yep.
the forward-looking thing saying, hey, yeah, credit cards are on the rails eventually whenever they're okay. What
Yep.
is the normal piece of, what is the kind of hurdles you get there? Oh, it's not going to be okay. What's the benefit? Whether
Yeah.
changing from this style, which is ACH, lower cost, to all of a sudden you're on credit cards and percentages go, we don't even know where those are going to land.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the bottom line. Like there's so much uncertainty around it that we don't know if it could be, industry average could be 7-8% for cannabis because it's so high risk, right? We just don't know where it lands. Right now, I think in what we're doing at Green Cards, we're really approaching it just with caution. We don't really see in the next, or at least in this presidency, anything changing when it comes to cannabis. So we see that it's still being a federally controlled substance, and not seeing the credit rails getting kind of applied to cannabis. That being said, when it does, we're hoping that at that point, Green Card and all these other applications will be so embedded into the cannabis flow that people are still going to use Green Card to pay with their credit card. The same way people still use Venmo, right, to pay, even if they have their card in their wallet. So we're creating an ecosystem, a community behind Green Card. So yes, when cards do get accepted, people can just load their cards and keep paying with Green Card.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Of course. Jacob, I noticed your hand was up.
Yeah. So how does this differ from Dutchy and Barter Pay? And are there any integrations with Dutchy? Because I have 45 dispensaries that I have ATMs in, and I'm in the
Yeah.
process of selling my ATM business, and I want to kind of implement this on the other side of things, right? So I'm still getting paid after the sale of the business.
Yeah.
So what that's the first question, and then the second question is, do you guys have mass pay, like if they wanted to pay 5 vendors at a time or something like that? Or has that been something that y'all thought about?
Yeah. So I'll kind of answer the second question. I'll answer the question first. So doing a mass pay is something we're thinking about. We're developing our B2B side of things a little bit more. So right now it's just compliant invoicing up to $1 million. It's pretty straightforward with some recurring functionality. That being said, we are working on kind of a mass pay feature where you can pay 5 vendors at a time, the same amount if you're getting the same kind of shipments. Relating to your first question, how we work with Dutchy and other services out there. So we don't work directly with Dutchy. Dutchy is notoriously hard to get an integration with. They keep everything pretty closed loop and in-house. That being said, they do have a solution that is ACH based called Dutchy Pay. That is one of our larger competitors in the space, and they leverage Plaid to handle their payments. I will say, and this is really the first big red flag with Dutchy Pay, is that to use Dutchy Pay, you have to be in the Dutchy ecosystem. So as a dispensary, right, you need to have the Dutchy menu boards, the Dutchy e-commerce, the Dutchy delivery, the Dutchy in-store. And at a point, it costs these dispensary owners $2,000-$3,000 a month just in SaaS fees. So what we see is a lot of people are actually migrating away from Dutchy. They do still control a large percentage of the market share in terms of software in dispensaries, but people are realizing that they're kind of in a double bind with Dutchy and that they're getting charged out the wazoo monthly and that their functionality isn't really modernizing. So we can work with Dutchy in an unintegrated fashion in that we are just another payment solution at the end of their flow, very similar to a cashless ATM or PIN debit terminal. We don't work directly with them right now, but we can work inside of a Dutchy dispensary. We do come in cheaper than Dutchy Pay. But that, our whole thing is our ACH solution is meant for the entirety of a dispensary. Whereas Dutchy Pay, is just for Dutchy customers, just in store. Green Card is for all customers out there, all point of sale systems for all dispensaries, not just in store. We can help them on kind of every revenue stream. I will say, if you have a Dutchy client that's interested and they want to get on a call, please bring me into it. I'd love to kind of both learn from where they're at right now in their Dutchy kind of build out and their process, as well as kind of, help them see that, maybe the Dutchy ecosystem isn't something you want to be tied down to for the long term. Maybe it's something you want a little bit of freedom with. And in that, let's begin to explore some unintegrated options or other options out there that give you a little bit of freedom. Sorry, Jacob, that was a very long-winded answer, but I hope that kind of touches everything.
Yeah, for sure. Because some of them they take Dutchy Pay right now, but they hate it. They just
Yeah.
don't like it, and they're just scared to add another option that they think that users won't adopt it because they're like, well, they don't like connecting their bank accounts. They don't like, like
Yeah.
those are just some of the objections that I've gotten just talking to them. And I'm like, well, you guys are already using Dutchy Pay and you're paying more money. So, why not make the switch? So,
Yeah. And, we're not going to shy away from it, right? Our biggest hurdle is always going to be adoption. And we've seen pretty good adoption when it comes to Greencard just because of our ecosystem, right? Customers see that it's a one-time sign up. It really takes around 40 seconds to sign up. And then from there, you're logged in forever. We do have, a deployment team. Jacob, we work with you to kind of get educated and work with these dispensaries to get customers signed up as soon as possible. So, one kind of differentiating factor is if dispensary signs up with Dutchy Pay, they're not going to get anything that guarantees their customers are going to sign up, right? They're going to get Dutchy Pay functionality, and that's it. At Greencard, what we do is, we train you, Jacob, we train others to come out to that store and educate customers on, okay, what is Greencard? Why should you be downloading Greencard? Why should you be using Greencard? And because of that, we've seen, higher rates of adoption. We've seen more people using Greencard at the dispensaries and where we're placed. So, we don't just give it to them and have them figure it out themselves. We make sure it's successful in their store.
cool. And then you'll help do demos as well.
Yeah, demos, onboarding, support, that'll all run through us.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Of course. All right, I'm going to reshare my screen here, guys, and we'll kind of touch on the non-fun stuff, the compliance factor. But I just want to make sure it's in this call and we can, touch on it a little bit. So in 2014, and I'll just kind of take a step back here, when it became a state issue in 2014 and Colorado legalized, the Department of the Treasury pretty much said, all right, guys, we can't prevent you from transacting, purchasing, selling marijuana. But if you guys, institutions out there, financial institutions there want to work with marijuana related businesses or cannabis related businesses, here's what you have to do to remain above board. I'll include this in the follow-up email after this call, but this is pretty much a, FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network outline of everything a business needs to do to remain compliant within the cannabis industry. So, you have to follow certain banking secrecy acts, certain DOJ points. But as you scroll down here, these are really the metrics we're making sure all of our cannabis accounts are hitting every year to keep them federally compliant in terms of processing. So we're making sure, preventing the diversion of marijuana from states where it's legal, making sure it's not going across state lines. We're making sure it's not getting sold to minors. And our banks, our banking partners are constantly doing this on an annual basis to make sure that these accounts remain compliant in a federal fashion. So as you guys scroll through this document, you'll see all these different points that we hit in terms of our onboarding, in terms of our documents that we need when a customer boards. But this gives you a great kind of background into why cashless ATMs are non-compliant. This document pretty much describes the only way for a transaction to be compliant within cannabis is that it's 100% transparent. We know where the money's coming from, we know where the money was being used for, and we know where the money's going to. With a cashless ATM transaction, there's none of that, right? You're hiding the origin of the transaction right from the start, right? You don't know if it's a cannabis related business, you don't know if it's a flower shop, you don't know if it's a grocery store, you don't know if it's a gas station because it's on the ATM network. So you're hiding it, right? You don't know where the sale's coming from. And then the payouts are a little sketchy too when it comes to cashless ATM. So because most cashless ATM dispensaries do surcharge the customer, as you guys I'm sure are familiar with, surcharging and debit and credit is illegal in pretty much most states. So what they do to avoid the regulation on that is a lot of cashless ATM providers, they bake in the fee into the settlement. So it's not two separate charges. It looks like one settlement payout. But go ahead and take some time to look through this document. It gives you kind of a good overview. We can always review this at another time if you guys want to hop on a call. Kind of segueing into what's been happening recently in terms of shutdowns, people aren't following these guidelines, and this has led to certain kind of legal proceedings. So I'll start with this. So in about a month ago, TrueLeaf got shut down. They're a large MSO based out in Arizona, a lot on the West Coast. They used to be in Mass. And they pretty much got caught for using cashless ATMs at all their dispensaries in Arizona. So what happened was Visa was verifying these transactions. They noticed after sending in a secret shopper that TrueLeaf was using cashless ATMs at pretty much all their dispensaries in Arizona. What happened was Visa shut down those accounts. They filed a fine to Pueblo Bank and Trust, which was the underwriting bank for these transactions, who then sent that fine down to Switch Processing, who is the Texas-based processor, who then passed that down to the dispensary. Now, TrueLeaf, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. $1 million lawsuit is really just a slap on the wrist for them. But what this case does show is that for the first time ever, the responsibility falls on the merchant, right? Usually in the past, it's been shutdowns on the processor side, fines to the processor, but for the first time ever, we've seen that this fine gets passed down. To TrueLeaf, $1 million is nothing, but to that mom and pop down the street, a $10,000 fine for using cashless ATMs could be, difference between closing business and keeping it running for the next year. So this is kind of a landmark case. We don't really know where the fine's going. It's kind of stuck up right now in court, but it's always something to keep track of. Kind of getting more into it, there's some more legal documents here of the fine, kind of where it's going, and we can touch on this later, and I can send this in a follow-up. But more recently, we saw earlier this year, Ease Consultants. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ease, but they're a big delivery service out in California. They started in San Francisco. I was familiar with them from the start. But they were using credit cards to process for the longest time. They processed over $100 million using credit cards. They were defrauding banks. They were defrauding the federal institutions. And what happened was their two payment consultants, otherwise known as just payment providers, got sentenced to 18 and 16 months apiece in jail. So, people are definitely looking out for this. People are seeing that there's a crashing out of payments in cannabis, whether it be credit, whether it be debit, whether it be these kind of gray options. And people are starting to go towards that ACH-based secure way of mobile payments. So, I'll send all this over so you guys have a good kind of core understanding of the due diligence issues when it comes to cannabis, what makes ACH compliant, and all that good stuff. But kind of wrapping this up here, I do want to let you guys know, and Dan, I'll touch on your question in a second. I do want to let you guys know that when you do sign up with Greencard, we give you full access to marketing resources, sales resources, pamphlets. If you guys need custom marketing, custom material created for you and your team, I can go ahead and have our marketing team do that for you. That being said, we have sales material. If you guys need lead lists for your areas, we can help out there. Cannabis is a little bit difficult when compiling lead lists just because it's not a very service industry, but we can help you out in as much as we can there. But we're pretty flexible in how we work with you guys. Again, as you get used to the industry, we know that cannabis is new, it's different, so we don't expect you guys to learn it all in one day. We do expect you guys to leverage us though. So if you come in contact with a lead, if you have a referral, if you know someone in the industry, please give me a call. Please hop on my meeting link, schedule a call, and I'm more than happy to get them on a demo. For the first few months, as you guys get ramped up with Greencard, just please use my expertise and use the Greencard team. We're always available for demos. We're always available for support calls. I'll make sure you guys all have my cell just in case you need to call me as you walk into a dispensary and you run into any issues. But our whole goal with this is to really get you guys up to speed when it comes to cannabis, make sure you feel comfortable as it relates to the industry, and empower you guys to sell. It's new, it's different. We see that 2025, there's going to be kind of a big shift. Cannabis is constraining. There was licenses were selling like hotcakes for the first 7 years in the industry, and now people are realizing it's hard to run a dispensary. It's a lot of work. It's not as easy as people thought. It's not a cash cow, and it requires you to have some business acumen. So we see a lot of businesses going under. We see a lot of businesses consolidating. That being said, they still need payments, and they still need secure, compliant payments. So we're seeing, with this cashless ATM shutdown, with business owners becoming smarter as to how they're processing payments, that more so than ever, I walk into a dispensary and I say, hey guys, what are you using for your payment stack? And I talk about cashless ATM. They're like, yep, we've heard about it. We don't want to touch it. We don't want to use it. We know the issues. And it makes it a lot easier for me to talk about pay by bank and, Greencard. So unlike the you know, restaurant retail industry where most of these owners are pretty closed off to merchant service providers, it's pretty easy to get a foot in the door when it comes to cannabis, and more so than not, they'll hear you out. But Dan, before I keep rambling, I wanted to touch on your question.
Thanks. I will second what you said earlier. I have called Jackson on his cell. He answers. So, even if it's a 2-minute question. Two things. One, I don't know if I've signed up for the green card kind of agent package with all that. Is there a code that we scan or
No, so you already have the agreement. I will just I'll send you out an
maybe
email.
it's in my email? But my main question was, because I'm just going off of the guy I spoke to today.
Yeah.
He's, their first question is it like Dutchy? And it's easy to combat that kind of question. Obviously they're gonna be asking price wise. Is there something you can say like, yeah, we moved someone off Dutchy and saved them, like confidently say something like, yeah, we saved them. I do something with dealerships and I can go
Yeah.
in and say I save anywhere from 20 to 80%. So is there, and this, I can do this on the side. I can call you later too, so I'm not boring everyone, but
No, I think this is
what
great
the,
to talk about
it's like
too.
a ballpark cost for these people. The app
Yeah.
is, free,
What we see with Plaid is it's around, they say it's a no cost solution, but they end up charging the customer around 4% per transaction. So with tickets over $100, it becomes, automatically more expensive than Green Card by 50 cents. We do see that, with these other ACH solutions and I can maybe we can hop on a call later, Dan, and I can give you
Okay.
battle cards, because we have battle cards too. There are other solutions out there. We're not shying away from the fact that, there are people who are doing very similar things. There's another company out there called AeroPay. Their pricing is a little bit different. They don't work across all revenue streams. So what I can do is, and I can include this in the follow-up email too, just get you guys some battle cards and just open up this folder of resources a little bit more. But if you want to give me a call, Dan, what we can do is talk on the side and set you up with some custom marketing.
Yeah, I know I might be the only one in Jersey, and it's different all over, so I can do this on the side. But
yeah, no worries. Yeah, give me a call later and we can set this up.
Okay.
And then as we close out here, guys, again, just kind of capitalizing on what Dan was talking about, please reach out to me for any marketing material. I want to make sure that you guys feel equipped to walk into these stores. We also have sandbox access. So if you need a sandbox account, if you want to be able to run a live demo in store and have your phone in one hand and your iPad in the other and say, hey, it's really this easy, we can help you out with that too. So that takes around, we just need an hour of your time to get you set up with a sandbox, teach you how to use it. It's pretty straightforward. But yeah, just please ask. That's my biggest piece of advice. But getting back into Green Card, if you guys have any more questions on the demo, we can run through it in our last few minutes here. But if not, go ahead and wrap this up and get out of here. Get you guys some time back.
Thanks, Jackson. I really appreciate you doing this today. This is great.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
We can get those PDFs branded for us and for our sub agents.
Yeah, that's correct. So if you have, obviously you might have some logo imaging, all that stuff, Jacob, send that over to me. I can put that on the document and get their name and email and phone numbers up there for your subs.
Okay, cool.
Same with you, Dan. If you have logo images, send them over to me. So in the last 5 minutes, I'm going to try this in-store ring up. I let Dev know that it wasn't working, so it looks like it's back up. But this is the in-store bread and butter of Green Card. This is where we started out. This is our QR code based checkout. So again, what's going to happen is a customer is going to go in store. They'll go to whatever point of sale they're using, whether it be integrated, unintegrated, Dutchy, Trees, Blaze, whatever. They'll ring up the customer. Let's just say this is a $55 transaction. They'll bring it over to Green Card, enter that. We'll get a QR code there. As the customer, again, if I want to do a web transaction, I can scan it with my iPhone camera, or if I want to do a mobile transaction, I can scan it with my phone. Because I'm already in the app on the right-hand side, sorry, I'm getting it. What I'm going to do is enter, get up here and select this QR code. Once I've done that, put that directly on screen. We'll scan that. Ticket automatically loads up for that customer. We'll see that my bank account's already connected. We have that service fee in the bottom right-hand corner. We'll add that tip, confirm payment, and then we're doing that real-time balance check to make sure they have funds and then pulling them, right? So on the bud tender side, it says payment made successfully. We can see that we have a service fee for $4, a tip, a total of $67. And then on the customer side, we have that confirmation in that receipt. Now clicking thank you here and close here, the bud tender can go ahead and run another transaction for the next customer in store. So we keep everything quick. We keep everything pretty easy. It's easily navigational around this app. So in terms of onboarding, in terms of getting customers up and ready, it takes around 2 hours to fully get them in with their bud tenders and everything like that as well. But yeah, guys, thank you for your time today. Again, this is recorded. We'll go ahead and send this over to you with all the extra material. Dan, Jacob, if you guys have questions, feel free to call me and we can touch on them later this afternoon.
Thanks, Jackson. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon.
Hey, Jacob, what state is Jacob in?
We'll connect you again. Sorry, I don't think he's gone. Have a good day, guys. We'll talk to you all soon. Take care.